3 minutes to divide from their opening and designated speeches. May begin when ready.
Marissa Alley and Jeremy Ball, representing KUNA High School and the nation of Cuba, Sir Chair. The United States' current embargo with Cuba is not only disproportionately and negatively affecting Cuba's economy, but it is also affecting the basic human rights of its citizens. In the famous 2000 case of Elian Gonzalez, an attempt to reconnect with family in neighboring Florida with his mother and stepfather, 6-year-old Elian was found floating in raging waters offshore and taken in by an unrelated family. Since his mother had drowned in the Straits of Florida during an attempted escape, Elian's Miami relatives fought for custody for 5 months so that he would not be sent back to Cuba. But the fight ended abruptly on Easter Sunday when U.S. Marshals seized 6-year-old Elian at gunpoint, only to send him back to Cuba. This example of the state of American-Cuban relations is a standing cry for help for the reform of this 50-year embargo. Both countries' citizens have come to question the American government's motives surrounding the embargo in a time of no war, where it seems only to keep Cuba from progressing forward as a nation economically, politically, and socially.
The reality is that the present policy inhibits a day which not only Cubans, but countless others throughout the world will enjoy further freedoms. Further delving into the concept of human rights, we can all reasonably infer that the current embargo placed on Cuba does not deter the well-being of those it targeted, but infringes on the very people struggling to survive. As Cuban ambassadors, we believe that the U.S. policy toward Cuba needs to change. Originally created as a tool to topple the Castro government, the policy has failed. The United States is the only nation in the world to have an economic embargo and boycott of Cuba, and the clear lesson of recent history is that if economic sanctions are to be successful, they must have strong international support.
The authors use 1 minute and 38 seconds for opening speech, and they will have 1 minute and 22 seconds for the speaking speech. We will now move into 2 minutes of non-favorable technical questions. Do we have any? Chelsea, Bren, Nisha, go.
Dawson, moderator representing High School. Sir Chair, how many peacetime embargoes are currently in use?
Apart from the U.S., there's currently one placed on Japan, which gives an instance of when the Security Council should approve it. There's an embargo on them after the recent hurricane and radiation. There's no longer an agriculture trade at risk of the infections.
Connor Hayes, representing Denmark, represented by Oldham County High School. Sir Chair, do these policies apply to any other relations between two or more countries?
The proposal only specific states peacetime embargoes, and it does not include anything with militaristic action or anything that does not deal with economic or commerce sanctions.
Colin Ogle, representing Turkey on behalf of the Parliament Dunbar High School, Sir Secretary General. When would the soonest that an embargo is restricted, when was the soonest that trade would be opened up for a certain country?
As soon as the proposal goes into effect, the nations would immediately have to either apply to have a peacetime embargo or end it.
Gus Loxton, representing Henry Clay High School in Djibouti, Sir Secretary General. In the section 2, it mentions that the United Nations can wage an embargo against a nation who doesn't cooperate. Does this mean that the United Nations is given the authority to create a non-wartime embargo, or that this nation has been seen as preparing a declaration of war?
The United Nations does have the policy to enact economic sanctions, and an embargo is strictly as an economic, basically a stricter economic sanction that include commerce or trade. So they do have the authority, and if any country refuses to go by that, even if it is peacetime, it is considered an act of war, just like an economic sanction breach.
Time for questions is now elapsed. My apologies. We will now move into pro-con debate.
Swanson, representing Henry Clay High School in Argentina. The issue with embargoes is complex. On the one hand, they allow us to avoid a sort of warfare that might result. But on the other hand, they can be seen as a form of modern imperialism. What ultimately decided this issue, for me, is that when looking at an embargo as a tool, we have to consider the alternatives. Many countries, in an alternative to embargo, would turn to military action, even if beforehand they are in a state of peace. For example, America and Iran are currently undergoing extensive trade sanctions. The alternative could well be military intervention, which would harm human rights to a degree much more exacerbated than the degree harmed by the current embargo. For this reason, my nation of Argentina believes that it is better to use economic sanctions than the military alternatives, even when we are in peacetime and even when the threat is not yet imminent, in order to prevent the threat before civilians die at the hands of armies.
Rachel Johnson, representing Arkansas County High School, candidate for Executive Committee, Sir Secretary General. I'd like to yield the remainder of my time to Doug at beside me. This is an excellent proposal for 3 reasons. 1, by blocking trade, it only hinders everyone involved. Number 2, innocent people are suffering unnecessarily because of this. And 3, by passing this proposal, it could open new trade routes internationally. I urge the passing of this proposal to help all of your countries as well as impacting the world.
Leighton Coffey, representing the country of Belgium, Rockcastle County, Sir Chair. This proposal has the potential to change allies and break trade barriers that have been in place for hundreds of years. In order to expect others to change the world, we, as representatives, must take the necessary steps to first change the world. And the first step for this is breaking boundaries that prohibit us from uniting, starting with trade. Thank you.
Sanders, representing Polish Rome, representing Turkey. Sir Chair, representing my field of Mary behind the Doug beside me. What this bill is doing is it's removing one of the primary diplomatic weapons that a country can have as an alternative to war to lay sanctions on a country that's doing human rights abuses, such as Syria. If what the team proposes is that it goes to the Security Council, where Russia has seen this vetoed again and again possible mandates by the Security Council. Doing this would remove the diplomatic ability of countries, even despite a few countries' opposition, to use diplomatic action instead of war. I will yield the remainder of my time.
Prince Sanford, representing Cambodia, Sir Chair. The United Nations will not always be able to understand the motives behind an embargo being placed on a nation, and the Security Council is not always able to have an open mind when all countries are represented.
Dalton Gallenstein from George Rutgers Clark High School, candidate for Executive Committee. I reserve my right to yield to the delegate to my right, Sir Chair. We all like seeing the little guy win. David versus Goliath, the U.S. hockey team over the Soviets, and more recently, Lehigh over Duke. So why don't we apply these thoughts to the real world? Every nation should have their chance to be stable and economically sound, and that's exactly what this proposal is giving them, a chance. During times of peace, there's no reason we should hold resources over a country's head like schoolyard bullies. We all live in different countries, but we all live in one world. Bob Marley said, one love, one heart. That is what we need to be to each other, loving countries that embrace each other. When we play a game, we want it to be fair. When we take a test, we want it to be fair. When countries want to have stable resources, they want it to be fair. So let's make it a fair world. Pass this proposal, and we can ensure that the little guy gets his fair chance, and that the world takes one more step toward Mr. Marley's vision, one love.
John Lawson, representing Old County High School.
Sorry.